Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It's the last video in our MLB previews. We're going to go into the NL Central here. 1 through 5, we have the projected first to the projected fifth based off of FanGraphs. We're going to go through each team quickly. And before we do, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. We got power rankings and my predictions coming out in the next couple of days, leading into possibly a live stream on opening day. That's what I'm hoping to do, but as you guys know, I'm not in my original setup, and I know possibly there's that Brewers fan out there who continuously tells me that I have the wrong logo for your team. And guy, I do have the updated logo, and just based on the craziness of the move, I was not able to really bring the right sheets and able to set it up, but I do have the right logo. It is gonna be updated. I promise you it's coming, so please don't leave a comment if you're still around at this point. But guys, we're going to jump in at the bottom here. This division, in my opinion, overall, just looking at the grand scheme of this division, it's not super exciting. A lot of these teams are in very big rebuild situations comparative to other teams across the league. Don't think most of these teams match up super well. We have a lot of young guys, a lot of guys, honestly, I have never heard of when I was doing the prep work for this video. And so I'm not going to go too much into a lot of the young guys, a lot of the names I don't know. For the most part, I'm going to highlight people that I do know and kind of what I am going on. Cincinnati, they're projected to go 78-84, a couple games below 500. It's going to be a one-game improvement over last year. We have seen moments where Cincinnati looks like they are a team that is ready to take a step forward, ready to compete for this division. And at 78 wins, they're only 4 wins behind who are the Cubs projected to finish first. So overall, even though you're 1 through 5 on this board, it is going to be relatively close in this division. The Reds, their big signings, I think, over the offseason here, we have Austin Hayes, Gavin Lux, who never really seemed to have it sorted out in LA, always seemed to like he was going to be somewhat of the future on the LA Dodgers team. He signs in here after a couple of years, and those are really the big names for them. On the pitching side of things, they bring in Brady Singer, and for me, this rotation is probably one of the most exciting rotations that Cincinnati has had in quite some while. They have Hunter Green, who is a first round pick and who is really up there overall in the power rankings of pitching, and he had a great year last year. Lodolo, I can't really remember him pitching too much last year, but maybe I was wrong on that. But again, another first round pick for the Reds. So they have a couple of guys there. They do also sign Martinez. So overall, the rotation is starting to fill out. But should they lose 1 or 2 guys in this rotation, I think it starts to fall off pretty quick from there. Chase Burns seems to be that starting pitcher, young guy coming up. Maybe going to make his first little bit debut this year for the Reds in that rotation as well. Maybe give him short leash. But those are somewhat the things to be excited for the Reds. It's a lot of the same young guys. Ellie De La Cruz, of course, is going to be the focus of this offense with the stolen bases being a massive part of his game last year. Will he continue to keep that going? Will he develop as an all-around player and a legend on this team? Very possible, but I think that's going to be the main focus and the main excitement for the Cincinnati Reds team. They're going to be competing very closely across this division. I don't think they match up poorly. I think overall this division matches up very well against each other, and I'm excited to show you what my predictions are going to be. Moving on, we have the Pirates projected 1 win better than the Cincinnati Reds. Actually the same projected wins as the Cardinals, 76-86 last year, which makes me drop them below the Cardinals. But overall, it's the Pirates. They've had 4 winning seasons since 2007 when their new owner, Bob Nutting, took over. So that's almost 20 years and only 4 winning seasons. If you're a Pirates fan or if you're just a baseball fan, you've noticed the Pirates have been that team they can kind of count on it. And I think at this point, we've seen them have back-to-back Aprils that were super exciting. They were in the hunt in April, but usually falls off really quickly. Their number 1 really free agent signing was Tommy Pham. He seems to be slotting in at the top of the lineup, so I guess as an impact player, he's going to make a difference on this team. But overall, the team looks a lot of the same, in my opinion. You're going to be focusing in on, of course, Paul Skeens. Everyone's going to be talking about him. Will he be able to duplicate what he did last year? Will the Pirates be able to take advantage of him while they have him locked up in his rookie contract years? Or is it just going to be another one of those Garrett Cole kind of situations where they just eventually trade him off for more prospects just to continue the cycle again? I think Pirates fans don't want that to be the case, but very well could be. Keller kind of sits in there at that number 2, continues to be there. They do sign possibly their number 3, Andrew Heaney. And at that point, we start to fall off really quickly in terms of their rotation. But that's typical Pirates way. They always seem to find a way to get these cheap younger guys to, like Heaney, in here and make an impact and maybe flip them at the deadline. We'll see if that happens. But in terms of the lineup, it's going to be the same players. Are we going to focus on them? Are they going to be able to turn into that all-star caliber stuff? Brian Hayes, always thought he was going to be more of an impact player than he has been. Right now, slotted more at the bottom of the lineup. Hasn't really taken that step forward too much. There has been injury issues with him over the years. O'Neal Cruz, of course, guy that we're going to be focusing on. Will he be able to start stepping in after a couple of years now under his belt? And Brian Reynolds, who always seems to be that core power hitter on their lineup. Those are going to be the 3 guys that are going to pretty much going to be the way how the Pirates make or break their season off the backs of those guys, along with Skeens and etc. But there you guys have it. Moving on. Cardinals, this one was pretty interesting for me, and I'm going to be honest with you. Other than Contreras and Arenado in the lineup, the names I do not really recognize. I'm sure some of these guys were here last year. I don't obviously know all 30 teams through in and throughout, but I think the big story here with the Cardinals is it's a young team. They're rebuilding, and it's kind of from that. They lose Goldschmidt. He goes off to the Yankees. It's going to be a new look Cardinals team. I think if there's a division to really start leaning into your young guys, this is kind of the time for the Cardinals. They managed to have an 83-79 season last year. I think at one point or not, I had them in the top 12 of power rankings. They just always seem to be performing a little bit above where you would expect. And maybe that's the case going forward here. They do still have somewhat of a strong top of the rotation. Sonny Gray still slots in there at the top. They got Mikolas, who has been a part of this rotation now for many years, but his impact has been questionable, at least as of late. And Eric Fede kind of slots in there too as pretty impactful players. I'd be interested if there is a Cardinals fan to kind of go down into the comments and let me know kind of like what's the excitement here for the Cardinals. I don't really know what we're looking at. Like, where is the focus? Because it is a lot of guys in their pipeline. Just looking at their prospect list, there is a lot of guys in the top 50 in the MLB prospect pool. But as we know, prospects don't always pan out the way you have it. But right now they are projected middle of the lineup here. And the one thing going for them as well is that almost all these teams are dealing with young cores, growing pains. It really goes to show because the best record is 82-80, and that is potentially a playoff team. Next up, we have the division champions from last year, the Milwaukee Brewers, right? The right logo. I'm sorry it's not there, but 81-81 is their projected record, and that is a significant step back from their 93-69 season that they had last year. I think they shocked a lot of people with that record. They did have the 3rd best run differential in the MLB last year, behind the Dodgers, behind the Yankees. Very impactful. They just haven't been able to get over that playoff hump, but they have won this division 3 of the last 4 seasons and have made the playoffs 6 of the last 7 seasons. So that's a big deal. And as some team like the Milwaukee Brewers and a small market team, they kind of get lost in the discussion sometimes against Tampa Bay, maybe against Cleveland, other teams that are those small market, small cap teams that always seem to perform. Milwaukee should be getting the credit that they maybe aren't getting across the MLB. Overall, they do lose Willie Adames, and that is going to be an impact. He's a 30 home run guy, stole, I think, 20-something bags as well, and has that all-around power that this Milwaukee team kind of lacked last year. I think when I was reading, they only had 4 guys that hit over 20 home runs last year. So without him, that is going to be a big blow. They do, however, have Churio, the young guy who just turned 20 in spring training. is signed for an 8-year, $82 million contract. I was looking at some analytics, and his one rookie year last year allegedly was worth $32 million. So after one season of an 8-year contract, he's already almost recouped half of what they're going to be paying him. So that might go down as possibly the best contract in the MLB for a long, long time. On top of that, we have Brandon Woodruff, who is missing all of last year and still uncertain when he's going to start for the Milwaukee Brewers this year. He has started throwing a couple innings in minor league spring training kind of games. This is going to be important for the Brewers to take some steps forward, because last year they had 17 different starters across their team throughout the season. And I think that's really where they tried to focus. And we saw it with their big trade in the offseason when they traded Devin Williams off for Nestor Cortez to add to the rotation. They have potentially Woodruff when he comes back, Cortez, Quintana, who is a free agent signing, a veteran who tends to be a decent lefty, right? And they also brought in Alexander, who, in my opinion, is somewhat unproven, but definitely has eaten up some innings over the course of his career. On top of that, they always have Freddie Peralta, who, if he can simulate what he did last year, will be a big part of having a solid rotation. Milwaukee has always found a way to get their bullpen in order, so I expect that to be a big part. And with Corbin Burns being traded last year for Joey Ortiz, what impact will he have on this lineup this year? He's still young and still a big young team here. Super exciting with the Milwaukee Brewers. They still got Yelich. They still got Rhys Hoskins. This lineup looks pretty solid as what did last year, and I'm excited. I'm going to talk about them more in my prediction video. And that brings us to the number one team, projected 82-80. That was before they started 0-2 against the Dodgers, but whatever, right? It's 2 games. Last year they went 83-79, so technically they're expecting a step back. And in my opinion, the fact that all these teams are taking a step back and it doesn't look like they improved, it either means the rest of the league improved past this division, or the parity in this division is closer than it ever has been. I think it's a combination of both. I do think this division is possibly the weakest overall in the MLB, so that is going to play a part. I think with the Cubs, the number one story, Kyle Tucker coming in here. He has 1 year left on his contract. If they aren't able to re-sign him, what are they able to do with him? I think that's going to be a big part of it. Matt Shaw and this rookies here. There's a bunch of rookies here. I kind of tried to write this down, but Armstrong, a bunch of different rookies that they're going to, it's kind of like their 2010 rookies, Rizzo, Brian, all those guys, when they are coming up together. It's almost like they're trying to simulate it again with this team. And at the same time, it's a different era as well in the rotation. Kyle Hendricks, pretty much the last guard in this Cubs, he's gone. And it's now Justin Steele's rotation. He's sitting on top there. They got Tyon still on top, and they have Eman Naga. Will he be able to duplicate some things we saw last year? I think that's going to be important. And they tried to add some depth to their rotation as well, bringing in Matt Boyd, bringing in Colin Rea. These guys, pretty much overall, they have a 5-piece rotation. But again, it's always injuries. In MLB long season, we're always going to see pitchers going down. I think when we start to look at the depth of the 5 rotation, I think the Cubs have the edge at this point. But I think Milwaukee's not too far behind, and they really tried to address those issues. So when we get to the prediction videos, I'll talk more about that. So there you guys have it. There's kind of what we see dealing off in the NL Central here. Not a lot of moves. I think that is probably the most important thing. We had a couple of teams make big moves, like when I'm talking about Tucker, and maybe we see Cortez going in, but like, are those going to be the massive impact players? We didn't really see any massive signings, especially when we're talking about the bottom teams. St. Louis didn't really have any. I think they're the only team I saw on the whole boards that didn't really have any free agent signing. And we have 2 teams down here that have Austin Hayes and Tommy Pham as your big impact player. So overall, the Central seems to be taking a step back in course of the entire MLB. But at the same time, we know one team's going to make the playoffs. And we'll talk about that in our next video, guys. So if you guys made it this far, make sure you subscribe, because we do have the division predictions coming out in a couple of days. And of course, the channel favorite power rankings. I don't typically do a power rankings video at the start of the season, but I think I'm going to try it for the first time this year. I'm going to do one before the season even starts. Even though I know the Tokyo series did happen, but let's pretend opening day Thursday, a couple days away. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll see you guys out there for that next video.